Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Jason's Weather School. So, today we're discussing the hazards that come from thunderstorms. So, as always, before we get into it, we start off with something funny. So, here's my joke of the day. What goes up when the rain comes down? Hmm. An umbrella. Get it? Umbrella goes up as the rain comes down. Kind of protection. All right. I thought that was pretty funny. So, as always, if you have weather questions, let me know. You can leave a comment right below this video, or you can send me an email to jfrazer at wkyc.com. That's jfrazer at wkyc.com. I've enjoyed some of your questions that you've had, and hopefully, if you've been having a burning one, let me know. All right, so let's talk a little bit about our outline for today. Obviously, we're going to be discussing the hazards that come from thunderstorms, and they include heavy rain showers, flash floods, as well as hail, tornadoes, and the winds that are associated with these thunderstorms. So let's do just a quick review of what a thunderstorm is. So a thunderstorm is nothing more than a rain shower that you actually hear thunder and then you see. Now, while you can get damage from any type of thunderstorm, it's usually the supercell thunderstorms that cause the most damage. And the reason why is because not only are they really big, but they're really strong. Now, I had talked about what updrafts are. Basically, that is a huge gust of wind that shoots upward towards the sky. And usually that's over 100 miles per hour. So that's really fast, and they are usually responsible for the majority of the tornadoes that you'll see. Not always, but usually. All right. And there's usually a lot of flash flooding that happens as a result of a lot of the rain showers that you'll see across the country with these supercells. And supercells also can have hail as well. So let's first talk about some of those heavy downpours. So the government does actually have what they call rule books in terms of how we determine what moderate rainfall is versus heavy rainfall versus very heavy rainfall versus heavy rain showers and violent showers, right? So I'm not going to go through all of this because some of this is just really intense stuff. But I just want to draw your attention to very heavy rain and heavy rain showers and then the violent showers. All right. So the very heavy rain, that's generally when we start to see anywhere between 3/10 of an inch fall within an hour and up, right? With those heavy rain showers, we tend to see anywhere between 4/10 of an inch and up to 2 inches per hour. All right. And then when you start to see more than 2 inches of rain falling within an hour, that's usually when we call those violent showers, okay? Or sometimes people will refer to them as heavy rain showers, but within the meteorology community, we call them violent showers, okay? And you see a lot of rain with this. Now, usually what will end up happening is if you live in an area that has a lot of people, we call it a densely populated area, sometimes you'll get what we call flash flooding. And flash flooding will happen when it's dry, and then literally within a couple of minutes, or maybe sometimes within an hour, you'll just get all this rain in one particular area, and it has no place to go. The plants, the trees, nothing can really absorb it. And so as a result, it causes all this flooding. So again, it's usually caused by heavy or violent rain showers. And typically you see this during thunderstorms. You can get some flash flooding with hurricanes as well, but usually we see flash flooding with those thunderstorms. So the worst flash flooding event actually happened in India back on August the 11th, 1979, in what we call the Morbi disaster. And what happened was upstream, there was a lot of rain that fell within an hour or two. And what happened was when all that rain moved towards the dam, it basically forced it to be destroyed, all right? Because the dam could only handle but so much water. but because of all that rainwater that had fallen upstream and then it started making its way towards the dam, it was 3 times the amount of rain that it was supposed to handle. So it was locked, and that's what caused it to eventually fail. There are estimates that anywhere between 1,800 to about 25,000 people died as a result. So just so that you know, and this is very surprising for a lot of people, but flooding is actually the second deadliest weather hazard in America. Heat is actually the most deadliest, but flooding is actually the deadliest. Part of the reason why is because people will be driving and they'll see a flooded road and they'll think, you know what, my car or my truck can handle it, and they go through it. And then this happens, which is exactly what happens on your screen, where they get stuck in the middle of the road. Why? Because the engine gets overflowed with water and it just doesn't go anywhere. And slowly but surely, the water starts rising, and it can be very scary. So that's the reason why you hear a lot of people talk about don't drown, turn around. Okay. Turn around, don't drown. I've heard it said both ways, but usually it's turn around, don't drown. And that is the reason why, is because your car, your truck, your vehicle can potentially get stuck. So I have a rule, which is if I can't see the bottom of the roadway, I don't drive on it. Just turn around. That's usually the safest thing that you can do. So another thunderstorm hazard is hail. And whoo, hail can be very pretty to see fall, but it can actually hurt you, all right? Especially when it's flying at 50, 60 miles per hour and it hits you on the arm. I've seen in some places where windows have been busted out. I've seen places where damage was extensive to cars, where some cars had holes in the middle of them, all because of hail. Now, just so that you know, hail forms when the raindrop is actually pushed to the really, 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 really cold part of a cloud. So remember, I talked about with the supercell, that little thing on the top of it that looks like a brain. All right, it's really cold up there. So this process, we call this an updraft, right? Again, it's where you have a huge gust of wind that's being pushed upward. So that rain droplet, like this, it's moist. It's there, all right? It's water. But as it's pushed upward, it starts to freeze into what you see there on your screen. Now, these hail pieces, for lack of better words, they can be as small as like little BBs, right? You know, the little BB guns. They can be really, 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 really small. Okay. Or they can be as large as softballs. And let me tell you something, that is going to cause a lot of damage. And we're going to talk more about that on Monday. But want to let you know about an event that happened on July 23rd, 2010, near South Dakota. This was an event where, on record, we actually saw the largest pieces of hail fall from the sky. Now, there are a number of other reports where potentially there might have been some larger hail that's fallen, but according to the National Weather Service, which actually certifies these reports, this is the largest report of hail. So the hail that fell from this storm was about 8 inches in diameter, and it was about 2 pounds. And you may be thinking, oh, that's nothing. Right. But imagine if that was falling at a rate of about 100 miles per hour from the sky. That's going to do a lot of damage to homes, to people's cars, and that's also going to hurt. So thunderstorms also have a lot of wind that's associated with it. And by the way, I totally love this picture of whoever this woman is with the wind that's hitting her hair and the mammatus clouds. And you can also see I believe that looks like leaves that's actually blowing there backwards with the thunder, or with the lightning, I should say, behind it. It looks really cool. All right. So anyway, with thunderstorms, you have two types of wind, right? So we had talked about downbursts yesterday, which another way that you can refer to those is with straight line winds. And then, of course, we have the tornadoes that happen as a result of those thunderstorms. So, and this is just a quick review. So microbursts, all right, those are also referred to as downbursts, all right? That is when you have a huge push of wind either near the ground or at the ground. It only usually lasts for about 10 minutes or less. And the winds can be anywhere from about 50 to 60 miles per hour to up to about 100 miles per hour. And the damage is usually with microbursts, it's usually anywhere between 2.5 miles or less. And sometimes it's accompanied by rain, not always, but microburst as well as macroburst, which I'm going to talk about in a second, they are really dangerous for pilots. And there have actually been plane crashes as a result of both of them. So anytime these are near airports, we get really concerned. And that's why a number of meteorologists work for the airports or they work in conjunction with the National Weather Service, because if a thunderstorm is coming, they need to know where these macro and these micro bursts are. Because think about it. If you have a plane that's flying just like this, right? And it encounters a thunderstorm where those downdrafts or that downburst happens, what's going to happen to that plane? It's going to go down. Well, imagine if that plane was coming into land and that happened. Yeah, it can get really dangerous very quickly. So macro bursts, all right, again, those are also referred to as downbursts. It's when you have a huge push of wind towards the ground, and the wind direction with these can really differ at the ground, but it's the debris field that I'm really concerned about, right? So when I refer to the debris field, I'm talking about the things that were pushed outwards, right? So sometimes it's trees, sometimes it's homes, sometimes it can be garbage cans, sometimes it can be water bottles, just like this. But usually all of the debris is pushed in one direction. Okay. Whereas with tornadoes, it's usually all over the place. And I'm going to get into tornadoes in a second. But usually with the debris field, it's usually more than about 2.5 miles long. All right. Hence the reason why it's referred to as macroburst. And again, they're normally found within. So speaking of tornadoes, right? Remember what a tornado is? Tornado is a rotating column of air that moves really fast. So usually it's moving very quickly like that. All right. And it extends from a cloud to the ground. Now, many times people will see the funnel cloud. All right. And that's that little squiggly line that's coming out, right? Has it touched the ground yet? Yeah. It's not considered a tornado until it actually touches the ground. And you might remember, what is a tornado over water? Eh, what? Yep, it is a water spout. So, how and why do tornadoes form within these thunderstorms? Well, that is still something that we are researching. All right. Why does a tornado somehow hit your neighbor's house, but it doesn't hit your house, even though your houses are completely the same? We still don't know. There's a lot of people, a lot of smart people, much smarter than I am, who are out there doing some research right now. But one of the things that we do know is that tornadoes are formed as a result of those huge updrafts. Again, remember, huge pushes of air upwards. Okay. And on top of that, it's also formed based on something called wind shear. Again, remember we had talked about that before about how at the ground, wind is moving from this way to that way, right? But by the time you get up to here, the wind could be going from here to here. It's what we call wind shear. All right. It is a change of the wind's direction with height. So, some cool facts about tornadoes, anywhere between 12 to about 1,300 of them occur every single year. And again, you don't need a tornado necessarily in order to all tornadoes are not associated with thunderstorms. Yet, usually you will have a thunderstorm and then a tornado, usually. But again, not always. All right. I don't want anybody in here to think that all tornadoes are as a result of thunderstorms, because they're not. But usually, if it does happen, it will happen with a super again of those huge winds, all right, those strong winds, I should say. Another cool thing about this, this was actually on weather.gov, which is run by the federal government. I just thought that this graphic was really cool because it really shows you where a lot of the tornadoes that happen on average every year, all right, are. So you can see that the bulk of the tornadoes tends to happen either across the deep south or across the Great Plains states, or even in, I'll call it the western side of the Midwest. Okay. So that doesn't mean that if you're in New York that you won't see a tornado. That doesn't mean that if you're in Nevada that you'll never ever see a tornado. But part of the reason why tornadoes happen is because of where it's located. All right, in between two very, I'll call them very strong sets of mountains. All right, so you got the Rockies, and then you also have the Appalachian Mountains. And then because of where Texas and these other central states are, you basically get a difference of very cold Canadian air that likes to interact with warm, moist air. And whenever you have that happen, whoo, it could be incredibly deadly. So, because of where they sit, there's a lot of other dynamics that go on that I don't really have time to go into, but it is largely because of where they are geographically. If you notice here in the center of the United States, that they are very conducive to tornadoes. All right, so that concludes our weather lesson for today. Next time, we're going to be discussing more about hail and the process that leads to hail's formation. And then, why are some pieces of hail like this really small, and why are some of them like golf ball or even softball size? So, we're going to be talking a lot about that and the differences between grapple and hail. A lot of people get it confused. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. And also, we're going to be talking about why hail is so dangerous. Also, if you got any questions, there's my email address, jfrazer@wkyc.com, or feel free to hit me up on Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram, all four of the social medias at Jason Fraser TV, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Till next time, have a wonderful day.